Hello everybody. Before going to start my lecture series on the cardiovascular system, I just wish you very warm and healthy Happy New Year 2021. Now what is the syllabus for cardiovascular system for first BPTA students? Now there are some of the few topics which are included in this first BPT syllabus. That is first what we are going to study: structure and properties of cardiac muscle, origin and spread of cardiac impulses, cardiac cycle, pressure, volume changes, heart sound, cardiac output and its regulation, arterial blood pressure, normal values and factors affecting blood pressure, basic ideas of electrocardiogram, regional circulation, that is coronary, cerebral and muscular circulation. We will just go through some of the interesting facts about the heart. It is what? What is it? It is a remarkable two-pump system in series, that is left and right. Its weight is approximately about our fist and hardly weighs about 300 grams. The output of each pump is 5 liters per minute but can increase 5-fold during exercise. That is from say 5 liters to say approximately 25 to 30 liters per minute. Now let us assume that say during a 75-year lifetime, the two ventricles combinedly pump about 400 million liters blood. Means that is said enough to fill a lake of 1 kilometer long, 40 meter wide and 10 meter deep. Your heart will beat about 115,000 times each day. The first implantable pacemaker was used in 1958 by Arne Larsson, who received the pacemaker and lived longer than the surgeon who implanted it. Larsson died at the age of 86 of a disease that was unrelated to his heart. Now it is also observed, most heart attacks happen on Monday. Christmas Day is the most common day of the year for heart attacks to happen. A woman's heart beats slightly faster than man's heart. The iconic heart shape that we know as a symbol of love is traditionally thought to come from the silphium plant, which was used as an ancient form of birth control or contraceptive. If you were to stretch your all blood vessel system, it would extend over 60,000 miles. Now, after noting this very interesting fact, what is the take away message for us? Laughing is good for your heart. It reduces stress and gives a boost to your immune system. Your heart affects every part of your body. That also means that diet, lifestyle and your emotional well-being can affect your heart. Emotional and physical health are both important for maintaining a healthy heart. Now coming to that is the cardiovascular system. Now what do you mean by the cardiovascular system, or what is cardiovascular system? Now our cardiovascular system mainly functions in two ways. It performs two important functions, that is primary function and secondary function. Under primary function, what do you mean by that? Which are carried out by convection, that is distribution of substrate and oxygen to all body cells. Secondly, collection of waste products and carbon dioxide for excretion. Second important function is dissipation of heat by delivery of heat from core to the surface of the body, and mediation of inflammatory and host defense responses against invading microorganisms. Now, what are the components of cardiovascular system? Now from the word cardiovascular, it is very clear that there are two major components of the cardiovascular system. Cardio means heart and vascular means related with the blood vessels. These are the four that is the components of the cardiovascular system. That is heart, which is the main driving force for blood flow, do its contraction. Then arteries, the distribution channels to the organs. There exists microcirculation, including the capillaries, which serves as exchange region. Veins, the blood reservoirs which collect blood to return it to the heart. Now, what is this heart? Now, you have studied that is the basic structure of the heart, but we will try to summarize some of the things. The heart is a muscular pumping organ located medial to the lungs along the body's midline in the thoracic region. You will see it from the figure. The bottom tip of the heart is known as its apex. You will come across all the time this stuff. And it is turned to the left, so that about 2/3 of the heart is located on the body's left side, with the other 1/3 on the right. The top of the heart, known as the heart's base, which connects to the great blood vessels of the body, that is aorta, vena cava, pulmonary trunk and pulmonary veins. Now you can see here, that is, it is situated at the middle part of the thorax, and what we call it as this region, mediastinum, that is, which lies between right and your left lung. What is the orientation and the surfaces of the heart? In its typical anatomical orientation, the heart has 5 surfaces formed by different internal divisions of the heart. Now we say that is surfaces, the anterior, posterior, inferior, and also say that is we also come across the terms right pulmonary and the left pulmonary. Means what do you mean by the anterior or the sternocostal region? That is related with the right ventricle. Posterior or base or that is the esophageal say region, that is correlated with the left atrium. Inferior portion or diaphragmatic portion, that is left and the right ventricles, and right pulmonary means right atrium, and left pulmonary means that is the left ventricle. Now which are the borders of the heart? We call it the right border, inferior border, left border and superior border. Right border relates with right atrium, inferior border relates with left ventricle and the right ventricle, left border relates with the left ventricle and some of the left atrium, superior border related with the right and the left atrium and the great vessels. Now these are the what I said, that the borders, that is separating the surface of the heart and its border. There are 4 main borders, this I have shown you here, which are numbered here also. That is right border means right atrium, then 2 inferior border, that is left ventricle and the right ventricle. Third is the left border, that is related with the left ventricle and some of the part of left atrium. Superior border, that is this region. 4, that is right and the left atrium and the great vessel, that you can see in this figure. Now as we know that there are walls are present in the blood vessel, and that is of course in the veins. Then there are also present walls between each atria and the ventricle, what we call it as the AV walls, and that is the then semilunar walls and systemic and the versus pulmonary flow is affected by these walls. AV wall, it is present at the right side and that is also left side. Now AV walls is called a tricuspid wall because it is having the 3 cups, and the mitral or the bicuspid, that is present at the left side or the left atrium and the left ventricle, it is called as the bicuspid. It is having 2 cups. Semilunar walls which are present in the aorta and the pulmonary that is the trunk, and they regulate here, that is the systemic and pulmonary blood flow. Then regarding the ventricles, we know there are 2 ventricles, right ventricle and the left ventricle. The left ventricle is more affected commonly by disease process than the right ventricle, because the other important anatomical aspect of the left ventricle is that, as it is said that the thickness of the left ventricle, or that is the thickness of its the wall is about more than 10 mm, and that of the right ventricle is 5 mm. And it is very clear the major function of the left ventricle is related with the systemic circulation, and here say it has to contract very rapidly as compared to the right ventricle, or in other words I would say that the contraction force or force of contraction of the left ventricle is more than right ventricle. In short say it has to perform there is more work as compared to the right ventricle, and hence as that is the left ventricle is more affected commonly by disease process than the right ventricle. Now there are some of the interesting facts about the arterial system. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. All arteries carry oxygenated blood except the pulmonary and umbilical arteries which carry deoxygenated blood to the say that is lung, that is postnatal, and to the placenta, that is prenatal respectively. The flow of blood depends on the pumping action of the heart. There are no walls in the arteries that we know. The branches of the arteries supplying adjacent areas normally anastomose with one another freely, providing backup routes for blood to flow if one artery is blocked. The arteries whose terminal branches do not anastomose with branches of the adjacent arteries are called as end arteries or terminal arteries. End arteries are of two types. Anatomic, mean that we call it the true end artery when no anastomosis exists. For example, artery of the retinum. Functional end artery when an anastomosis exists but is incapable of providing a sufficient of blood, for example splenic artery and the renal artery. Now as you know there are two circulatory loops, that what we call it as, that is the two primary circulatory loops in the human body, that we know that pulmonary circulatory loop and systemic circulatory loop. In the pulmonary circulation, it transports deoxygenated blood from the right side of the heart to the lungs, where the blood picks up oxygen and returns to the left side of the heart. The pumping chambers of the heart that support the pulmonary circulation loop are the right atrium and the right ventricle. Now coming to the systemic circulation. Now systemic circulation we know that is mainly affected by that is the left side of the heart, mean that is mainly left ventricle. Systemic circulation carries highly oxygenated blood from the left side of the heart to all of the tissues of the body with the exception of the heart and the lungs. Systemic circulation removes waste from the body tissues and returns deoxygenated blood to the right side of the heart. The left atrium and the left ventricle of the heart are the pumping chambers for the systemic circulation. What does it mean? It means that, say now coming to the pulmonary circulation, as it is mentioned, the pumping chambers of the heart that support the pulmonary circulation loop are the right atrium and the right ventricle. That is affected mainly by right side of the heart, and systemic circulation, that is by left atrium and the left ventricle of the heart, are the pumping chamber for the systemic circulation loop. That is, the systemic circulation is mainly affected by that is the left side of the heart. The other important thing that all of us know regarding the blood vessel, all blood vessels which are lined with a thin layer of a simple squamous epithelium known as endothelium. Now what is its peculiarity? That keeps blood cell inside of the blood vessel and prevents clots from forming. The endothelium lines the entire circulatory system all the way to the interior of the heart, where it is called endocardium. It is called as endocardium. There are three major types of the blood vessel in our body that all of us know: arteries, capillaries and veins. Blood vessels are often named, that is, after either the region of the body through which they carry blood or for nearby structure. For example, say the brachiocephalic artery carries blood into the brachial, mean that is arm, and cephalic, that is in the head region. One of its branches, the subclavian artery, runs under the clavicle, hence the name subclavian artery. The subclavian artery runs into the axillary region, where it becomes known as axillary artery. Veins rely on gravity inertia and the force of skeletal muscle contraction to help push blood back to the heart. To facilitate the movement of blood, some veins contain many one-way valves which prevent blood from flowing away from the heart. A skeletal muscle in the body contract. What is their function? They squeeze nearby veins and push blood to the valves closer to the heart. All veins carry deoxygenated blood with exception of the pulmonary and the umbilical veins. The umbilical vein is a vein present during the fetal development that carries oxygenated blood from the placenta into the growing fetus. The blood pressure inside the umbilical vein is approximately, that is the 20 mm of mercury. Now coming to the structure of the cardiac muscle. As we know that there are three basic types of the muscle. What are they? The muscle which are attached to the bone we call the skeletal muscle. The muscles which are present in the internal lining of the organs, for example, that is GIT. Then they are also present in the eye and so many structures in our body. And very important muscle is cardiac muscle. What is the uniqueness of the cardiac muscle? If you give a look to the structure of the cardiac muscle as it is shown here, means the comparative structure of these three muscles. Now what you observe here, skeletal muscle tissue is arranged in the bundle. They are now here smooth muscle. They are present independent at this stage and they are having the slender end. But cardiac muscle is very unique. What you observe here, that they are branched. You will find a diffuse branching network of the cardiac muscle is present. Other important thing is that we all the time say that skeletal muscle is voluntary type of the muscle and these two muscles, that is the cardiac muscle and the smooth muscle, they are involuntary type of the muscle. Now as usual, they contain here, that is the contractile proteins, actin and that is the myosin, and these produces striations in the skeletal muscle and up to certain extent the cardiac muscle and smooth muscle. This striation is minimum, that's why they are called as a smooth muscle. There are also some of the structural differences between these three types of the muscle. But very uniqueness of cardiac muscle, it is having the property of the autorhythmicity. Autorhythmicity means which has the ability to generate its impulses and conduct these impulses to cause automatic contraction in the rhythmic manner, and that's why they are called as a that is the rhythmic contracting muscle. Now going back here, now you can see here in this figure, this is the cardiac muscle. What you will find that the bundle is arranged in the endomyosin. Now as usual, you will find that there are intercalated discs are there. Nucleus is centrally placed and here you will find that is a branching of these all muscles. Then we can identify here Z lines and the A band. Now what is the major difference between the cardiac muscle, smooth muscle and that is the skeletal muscle? Now skeletal muscle is a multinucleated cell. As usual, you will find cardiac muscle and the smooth muscle, they are unicellular in their structure. What you will find mainly, this nucleus is placed in the center in these both types of the muscle. But however, in skeletal muscle it is observed during embryonic stages, these nuclei are placed at the center of the cell, and as they reach to their maturity, what you will find is that these all nuclei are situated at the periphery in the later stages of development. As you can see here, this is the same thing of the cardiac muscle, now which I have mentioned here. You can see diffuse branching of this cardiac muscle. Then here that is the, you can follow here the basic structure of intercalated disc and that is the striation which are present in this type of the muscle. Now in this figure, we are going to study some of the comparative properties of smooth muscle, cardiac muscle and the skeletal muscle in detail. What is the uniqueness of the cardiac muscle? I said that they are autorhythmic, means they can generate their own impulses and conduct these impulses to contract rhythmically. Why we find this branching in between this cardiac muscle? Because a impulse which is conducted in any part of the cardiac muscle, it instantly spreads over entire cardiac muscle within a fraction of a second, just to cause contraction. So is the not case with the skeletal muscle, or that is the smooth muscle. Now some of the basic things which have been mentioned here, we are going to discuss some of the structural properties when they are needed, and mainly we are concentrating on functional properties of the cardiac muscle. Now where say these all muscles are located, what is their location? The smooth muscle, they are mainly present in the wall of hollow organs, vessels, respiratory passageways. Cardiac muscle, they are only present in the heart, the wall of the heart. Skeletal muscle, they are attached to the bones. What is their cell characteristics? In case of smooth muscle, they are having the tapered at each end and branching network, that is non-striated. Now this branching is not just like, say, that is the cardiac muscle, it is slightly different. They are arranged. Say there is a typical pattern of the arrangement of smooth muscle. Now in cardiac muscle, they are say branched, or they have branching network, special membrane, that is what we call the intercalated disc between cells, single nucleus, and they are lightly striated as compared to the skeletal muscle. Now other important thing regarding the skeletal muscle is that they are long and cylindrical and multinucleated and heavily striated. What is their control? How their function is regulated? How do they contract in short? Say in case of smooth muscle, both of them are involuntary, that all of us know. Then skeletal muscle are under control of say nervous system, or we can perform any activity, the skeletal muscle, as per our will, and hence they are called as, that is the voluntary muscle. In case of say cardiac muscle, what do we observe? That is, it pumps blood out of heart. They are self-excitatory but influenced by nervous system and the hormones. In case of skeletal muscle, what is their sole function? Is the production of the movements. That is, they produce movement at joints stimulated by nervous system and contracts and relaxes rapidly. Now just give a look to this structure which I have shown here. Mainly concentrate on this major part of the cardiac muscle that we are going to study. After that, we are going to study these comparative properties of the cardiac muscle, that is between skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and that of cardiac muscle. Okay, I will just stop here. Thank you for your patient listening, and we will continue the same topic in the next lecture.